Here you go.
Good. Okay, good afternoon. As Stefan was stating, this is the first of many, I'm sure, regional weeks up and coming. This is the Ontario chapter, and we'll be conducting this meeting from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. Itinerary, as he suggested, we're going to be doing introductions. We're going to be introducing the people who are on the panel as well as on the call, going through the new Ontario chapter mandate, followed by a educational kind of information session from Chris Fattai at Liberty Engineering, as well as Daniel Soisa. Did I pronounce that right, Dan? Close enough. Okay. Daniel Sosa, AKR Consulting, Employment Funding Opportunities. And then we open the panel to discussion and closing remarks, and then we'll wrap it up at around 2 o'clock. So again, at this point, I'm just going to introduce myself very briefly. My name is Marco Greco. I'm the Ontario chair. I currently work as CEO at the, we're rebranding the company, Ostico Windows and Doors, which will now be renamed Frank by Ostico. My email address is there as well. My experience in Fenestration Canada has been overall very positive. I've, like many people, have been in this industry since I was very young. My father has been in this industry for over 40 years. So I kind of know a lot of the names and faces, but took this opportunity to kind of just give back and to start contributing to the community and just kind of elevate the industry as a whole. So I'm happy to be here and happy to participate and looking forward to developing the membership and gaining more input from my fellow manufacturers, dealers, and distributors in the area. I am the chair of the Ontario chapter. I have two co-chairs. One gentleman, Jason Waddell, he is a VECA salesman. Unfortunately, he had a conflict this morning and he won't be attending. But we do have Tarek Alawa on the call. Tarek, I'd hand it off to you to give a brief introduction about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tarek Alawa, and I'm the Ontario co-chair. I am the product development manager at Golden Windows, and my background again with administration has been mainly with safety test with testing. So I worked in AirEns, CLEB, and UL. So for me, all the technical part of the industry is very important. And now it's been almost a year I've been working with Golden Windows, and I thought it would be great to give back to the industry and keep the integrity and the quality of the industry high. So I'm trying to do my part. And if my email is on the screen, if anyone has a question, you can always reach out to me, to Marco, or Jason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. As well on the call, the panelists / presenters, I'm just going to ask for like brief little snippets. Again, it's myself, Marco Greco. Mike Bruno has been called away to presidential duties, so he has jumped off the call. But in his place, we have Chris Fattai. Chris, would you just like to say something brief about yourself?
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm with Liberty. We provide SRED services, scientific research and experimental development, focus in the industrial sector within manufacturing.
Okay, thank you. And Daniel, a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Marco. Yes, I work for AKR Consulting. A little bit about myself. I confidently can let everybody know that not only have I been with AKR Consulting for a few years, but I used to be a customer. And one of the reasons why coming to AKR Consulting was important to me was because I was in the manufacturing sector for 15 years and I relied on AKR Consulting to help me annually with getting me different types of government funding opportunities, and really allowed me to focus on my business. So coming here, I can take that experience and share with everyone really just how to take advantage of these opportunities and not leave any money on the table.
Thank you for that. And full disclosure for everyone, I don't want any conflicts of interest to be expressed here. I have used, the organization I work for has used AKR previously with success with the government funding pertaining to new employees and training grants. So I could say we've been using them for the past 3 years. and we've been successful, and we've seen great benefit from it. Chris, I've known for several years. As an organization, Ostico has not used his services, but we are in the midst of moving forward with a SRED proposal. I've spoken to a number of people in the manufacturing sector, kitchen cabinet guys up around the Steeles area, as well as several manufacturers in the Concord area that have used Chris with great success. So I know that he will be able to field any questions and provide some enlightenment as to what exactly the opportunities are pertaining to SRED. So overall, I just want to say thank you for everyone for attending, and I guess we'll just take it to the next slide. So as I stated, or as Stefan stated in the opening, this has been, we've always had an Ontario committee per se, but it did not have the same kind of cachet or kind of autonomy that was previously. I don't know what I'm trying to articulate. What I'm trying to say is the Ontario chapter is new. It's divorced from the kind of larger spectrum of the Canadian committees. We are our own entity. We have complete autonomy, and we will be focusing on regional specific interests and community. What does that mean? That means that really, as a committee, we are looking for greater engagement from people who are on this call, from other manufacturers, dealers, producers, resellers, basically anybody in the window and door industry. There is an opportunity to communicate, to interact, and to kind of understand best practices and just share across the industry, which I think that, if I could say, we as an industry are not necessarily the most open, and I can't speak for other industries, but I feel that we can learn a lot from each other, and understandably, we're always in competition with each other for those consumer dollars. But I think that we can, as a community, elevate each other's kind of status, manufacturing processes, the way we deal with customers. We've all dealt with the same challenges. So the next facet would be networking. Network is an opportunity for us to kind of meet in a space and dedicate some time to just getting to know one another and getting to know everyone's specific challenges and just understanding how we have addressed those challenges. As I said, elevating the industry and kind of buttressing the Ontario manufacturing and window and door community. I think this is a very good approach. And ultimately, regional membership goals. I think it's fair to say that we are one of the biggest economies, or the biggest economy in Canada. And I think we have, just in Concord alone, there's almost 50 or so window and door related industries and window and door manufacturers. And I think it's important that we all get together and that we communicate, and that we have this forum dedicated specifically to Ontario that allows us to have these kind of interactions and to benefit from the resources that are available. And that's why FemCan is so important. It's a meeting place. It's a sense of community that we want to develop and garner and grow. So we're very excited about the Ontario chapter, and to have a complete autonomy gives us a little more freedom to kind of do what we need to do and address the concerns that are immediate to everyone in the industry and region. In Ontario. So that's exactly why we have Chris here and why we have Daniel. They have specific interests in the Ontario region, Ontario market, and they're going to go into specific programs that are going to benefit your companies, regardless of size and scale, to get some of those government dollars to elevate your company to that next level and maybe find that next person. I mean, we're all challenged right now finding good people. Both Daniel and Chris are going to give you some introductory tools to use the government funding to get those people into your building and to help you offset some of the costs in getting new employees, training new employees, because ultimately that's the largest financial burden with hiring new people, is potentially the loss of that individual. So let's mitigate some of those losses, because eventually, inevitably not everybody is going to work out. So these opportunities, these programs give us a better opportunity to investigate, explore maybe things that we weren't invested in or weren't interested in because it was out of our pocket. So we're lucky that we have a social network and a social funding programs like this. And I'm excited. So next up, we will jump right into, please ignore the Q&A. We'll jump into a presentation. Chris, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. I am just, let me have a quick presentation. I can upload it on the screen so you can see.
Sure.
I haven't really used this. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Great. So basically what we do, we help companies, manufacturing companies to secure government funding under SRED program, SRED program. If you do any sort of manufacturing at any capacity, you're eligible to get the government funding once a year. They call it for either product development or process development. Under a SRED program, which stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development. This fund, it is in terms of cash refund that you're entitled to apply and receive once a year. But to get this refund, there is a few requirements that we need to comply with. Number one, the government call it, you have to do research and development on a simple language, do try and error. So if you do prototyping, developing new products, or you're trying the development products is one set of challenge that you have. The other set of challenge that you have as a manufacturer is reduce the cost so you can make money. So under this program, you're eligible to apply both for a product development and process development. And the process development means, in a simple language, finding a way to reduce your cost. How? Through the setup time, changeover time, cycle time, a scrap rate. If your cost is high, even though by 5%, you're not going to be much longer in the market. So under SRED program, you're eligible to apply and receive for both product development and improving your process optimization. And SRED program, when you're filing it, there are three main categories. They call it line 242, which is project objective, work history, hypothesis, technological advancement, simple language, what did you learn while you're doing the testing, and lastly, talk about the documentations. Under SRED program, the projects or activities can be captured is either when you're developing new design or modifying the design, improving your processes, or improving new existing processes, which you can capture under the SRED program. The beauty of the program is, regardless at the end of your year end, whether you could achieve your goal, like I'm trying to reduce my cost by 5%, or I'm trying to develop a new prototyping, which is more energy efficient, which is lighter or more durable. Regardless the case, as long as we show that we did try and error, we are eligible to get this funding from government. What you can capture under the SRED program in manufacturing environment, number one by far is the labor cost, followed by overhead, 3, waste material, and 4, subcontractor. You're not going to get dollar for dollar back, but roughly you're going to get about 42% back in terms of cash refund from government. And when you're applying for a SRED program, your number one goal is to avoid a review, not to defend it. You understand what I'm talking about if you go to the boardroom with CRA, which can be very time consuming. They require lots of paperwork. And at the end, they can easily, cut back on some of the claim value. So the goal is to avoid a review. How to avoid a review? Make sure the reports are pretty concise, which we do at Kingsway. I myself, I'm a manufacturing engineer by trade. I went to Ryerson, I studied manufacturing engineering, worked in a corporate world number of years, and for the last 17, 18 plus years have been helping companies exactly like yours to take full advantage of the program. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any questions.
Actually, we're gonna hold off on questions until the end.
Mhm.
But I would have a question. Is there a minimum or maximum? So can anyone propose any project?
No, there is no minimum and there is no maximum. How much refund you're going to get back? Are you going to get $1,000 refund,
Yeah.
100,000 or $1 million? Has two main factors. One is how big is your payroll? How big the company is? You have 1 employee or you have 100 employees? And two, the complexity of the project. Some projects, some job or custom job you're doing last a week. Some of them last a year or two. Typically, the bigger the company, like GM, you can get hundreds of millions back. And if you're a 1 or 2 man operation, you can get a few thousand. So there is no limit on it, but the refund amount that you're going to get is going to be drastically reduced if you're a smaller firm.
Okay. And if I've never submitted a SRED application, are there any kind of do's and don'ts? You know, should I be asking? Is there a certain dollar value I should be asking for? Is there any kind of expectations with a first application that somebody should follow?
The first application I would recommend, if you never applied before, of course, we have to follow the guidelines. You can't miss the deadline. If you never applied before, you can apply for 2 years at a time. Say hypothetically speaking, if your year end is December 31st, the deadline would be June 30th. And if you miss a deadline, there is not much we can do. And if it's again, year end is December 31st, you're eligible to apply for 2021 application and also for 2020.
Okay. So when you go into a company, who are you typically dealing with? Obviously there's an accounting aspect to it, but who are you mostly engaging with? Like if you went into a company, obviously you're going to require some time of the employees. And who are those individuals that you typically work with at those organizations?
Well, typically, say in an organization with 80 or 100 employees, we roughly need about 3 to 4 hours of the production technical person. Someone, they kind of varies from organization to organization. They can go by the maintenance person, engineering person, can be a plant manager or plant supervisor. Typically, those individuals know about the day-to-day activity of what happened, what sort of project they work on. There's a prototyping, process improvement, cost reduction, machine modifications. So we need to deal with those technical individuals, and roughly about 3, maximum 4 hours to be on your side to collect the data, and we pretty much look after the rest. And the reports consist of 2 parts. One is a technical report, basically talks about technical issues related to that project. And the other part is a financial. And the financial pretty much talk about the financial side of that project, which is who was involved, labor costs, overhead costs, material costs, and a subcontractor. Together create one claim, which those reports has to be submitted to government along with your corporate taxes. You cannot submit the reports on their own separately. Has to be filed along with the taxes at the same time. Again, which we coordinate that one through your accounting firm.
Okay, and say somebody wanted to reach out to you, I obviously will provide the contact information, but in a very kind of abbreviated explanation, what exactly, I mean, I know you've kind of went into the detail, but if you could just give kind of a step-by-step, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, how exactly do you operate? You know, a company will reach out to you, you'll come, and then how much time do you spend on the floor? How much time, you've obviously addressed that the team is expected to put 3 to 4 hours in identifying metrics and submitting information, but are you involved at all at auditing and kind of identifying projects, or is it the the company's responsibility to propose the projects to you?
Very good question. We seldom get any review, and the whole idea, as I mentioned, to avoid a review, not to defending it.
Yeah.
And even if it gets to the review, we are going to work closely with the client, preparing all the necessary documentation to defending it.
Okay. Sorry, I think there's a bit of misunderstanding there. So when you go into a company as an organization, and am I proposing the projects to you, or you as an organization go on the floor or go into the business and identify opportunities?
Sometimes a company, they know that what projects they have. They come up with the new products or modifying the machinery. They know what project could be eligible. If they are first-time claimant, they have no idea where to start. We guide them through a step-by-step. And the process is pretty straightforward. Based on the CRA guideline, what technical problem did you experience in the last couple of years? And technical experience could be in form of assembly, could be weight, durability, finish. The list can go on and on. Cycle time. If you are making a Windows, a cycle time, for example, you want it every hour, whereas it take you an hour and a half, you are way above your cycle time. So depending varies from a company to company and year to year. Any sort of technical issues or quality issues that you have, we're going to walk you through it, identify the projects. Roughly takes about, again, maximum 3 to 4 hours for whole the process.
Okay, great. And if moving forward, they're going to reach out to you directly, and I'm assuming that you would take the project on, and then your team would address it moving forward, correct? You have how many people do you have working with you, Chris?
Liberty is pretty small company. We have about 4 or 5 employees. Okay. And we are specialized only in industrial sector.
Okay. Okay, great. I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you for all that information. We'll leave more questions to the group at the end. Thank you for that, Chris. Moving on to Daniel from AKR.
Thank you, Marco.
Hello, and please go ahead.
Actually, before I did move on, I noticed that there was a question in the Q&A box here for Chris. I don't know if you want to address that before I start. It's a short question.
Well, I guess if there's a question, let's field the question now. Then.
Sure, let me.
Yeah, the question is SRED a tax credit or a refund?
Is roughly about 97% of that would be cash refund. So literally you receive a check in mail for 97% of the application that we are submitting, and 3% would be credit. And the credit means is pretty much credit. At the end of the year, rather than you paying taxes, you use that 3% to offset your taxes.
So it's a tax refund, basically.
In 97% you receive in form of cash refund.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Any additional questions, I guess?
No, no more questions.
Okay. Thank you for that, Daniel. It's all
No
you.
problem. I didn't want that. It's a short question. I figured it'd be best to address it closer to the information Chris provided. So thank you.
No, thanks for fielding it. Thank you.
And also thank you for pronouncing my last name properly there before. I really do appreciate that. I know it's a tongue twister sometimes. Daniel Soisa is not always the easiest to read. So thank you everybody for joining us today. I want to come here and explain to everyone a little bit about the employment funding programs that are available in Ontario. I find it hard to start these conversations with anybody in a presentation or even in a meeting without really explaining a lot about government funding. So every year there's billions of dollars that are made available through about 4,500 to 5,000 sometimes different funding programs that are available, either federal, provincial, or even municipal. I know that recently we've all been made aware of certain programs like CEWS, CERS. These are the emergency wage and rent subsidies that were provided to Canadians. So those are just some prime examples of that. And then, we can also break it down. There's grants, rebates, refunds, subsidies, tax credits, even interest-free government loans that are available for businesses and individuals. A lot of the knowledge and experience that we can provide is by ensuring that we get an idea of what your business really needs, what you're looking for, and where you plan on going. Knowing that you might have specific employees that might be eligible for individual rebates is something as well that we can also help to explain to you for your business. And you're going to be asking me, why does the government provide funding to businesses, right? I mean, it's a win-win scenario for the government and for the businesses. Every government funding program, while they help businesses, they also help government by creating more tax revenue, right? Creating jobs helps to create more payroll taxes. And you increase your employees' skill level with, let's say, training programs, it increases their pay, which again increases payroll taxes. R&D activity, like Chris was talking about, that will increase exports, more skilled jobs, again, more payroll taxes. So, the government really wants to do these things. It's a bit self-fulfilling, but again, these are opportunities for businesses like yourself to take advantage. How much government funding is made available to businesses annually? According to the Fraser Institute, there was this study done. About $29 billion is made available. This is a couple years old now, so this this study here, I'm sure, has gone up in value. Just to give you a quick example, larger corporations, they obviously will tend to get more. They're investing a lot more into their businesses. So you see, like Chrysler here tops the list on in 2016 for funding recipients. These are figures that I want to present to you guys so you understand there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of programs. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy to ask questions and say, what about me? What about us? I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to be able to show you those programs and showcase exactly what is available. Some of those top funding recipients received, you can see there, $523 million in funding alone. It's a lot of money. And I encourage everyone to continue to ask the questions and don't let time go by without figuring out, have I missed anything before in the last couple of years? Because we find that there's also funding that is retroactive. You can make claims and still receive money for money that you've spent, 2-3 years ago. And government funding, it should be considered by all businesses. It's a lucrative way to internally fund your operation and grow your business. I think bottom line, that's what we're all trying to do. We all want to continue to grow our businesses. Job growth is one of the big focuses that I'm going to be talking about, right? And maintaining jobs in those industries, innovations as well. These are all big things. So when we get into the employment funding, these are some of the topics I'm going to let everybody know about today. Apprentice salary refunds. I'll talk about co-ops, student salary refunds. There's hiring grants, job training grants, EI and WSIB exemptions. And I've also added a little bit about group benefits, which is also a big thing that you can utilize to save some money. So just to get started with apprentice salary refunds, they've been around since 2005. They're available across Canada. However, funding amounts vary per province. The focus of the salary refunds are to encourage employers to hire and train apprentices to become fully licensed. So the government does understand there's a reluctance for businesses to hire these apprentices. They require a great deal of on-the-job training and mentorship. These refunds are financial incentives to offset the cost of training. Now, throughout the years, they've been adjusting these programs to better suit the needs of not only the apprentice, but the businesses, to make sure that people are executing and going through with the program. So you can see in 2017, the refunds totaled $170 million. Maximum annual funding is $5,000 per apprentice per year. So, if there's a number that everybody wants to understand, why is this important to me? Well, you can get $5,000 per apprentice per year. So if you have a couple of apprentices, maybe you go through 10 or 20. If they're only working for you for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, those salary figures are still eligible for the claim so long as the apprentice is a registered apprentice. And again, like I said, there are retroactive funds available out there. So this one being one of them, we can go back 3 years if you haven't made those claims. Reach out to me. We can do the retroactive audit on who might have been working at your business in the last 3 years that would be eligible and still make a claim to get those funds into your business. And now there are refundable checks and there are also tax credits that would be applied to your account depending on how the employee is eligible. If taxes are owed and you get those approved refunds, sometimes they're applied to those taxes owing, and we can use that to deduct the taxes owing. So again, those are a little bit of the tax rules that we can help you understand once we go through the program. Funding is available. Again, I mentioned it has changed over the years. The most recent changes were announced in April 2020. Current funding now in Ontario is $1,000 upon the completion of each of the first 3 levels of your apprenticeship, and an additional $1,000 upon the completion of the highest level, becoming licensed. So these are things that they've done to change how much money they give, but what they've done is they've tiered it so that there's more incentive for the applicant, that apprentice, and the business to continue to push them forward and complete that training and get them licensed. In the past, they've found that a lot of apprentices never completed their programs, so they were giving out a lot of money, but they weren't seeing licensed technicians coming from the program at a higher rate than they should. There is also additional grants of $2,000 for each year in the first 2 years for those apprentices as well. So there's certain rules that apply, and again, as I mentioned, they've changed it where, you know, even now there's money for apprentices, and they're giving more money for minorities and women than they would to men. So if you find that you have a diverse workforce, those opportunities are available for the businesses, but also for the apprentices. They're totally incentivizing more money for apprentices now than they were before, but just tiering it differently. These new incentives focus on the completion of each level, as I mentioned. Once the employee was enrolled in an apprentice, their employer was entitled to the annual rebates, whether or not they completed it. So again, a little explanation of what I was just mentioning. This new funding structure aims to get more apprentices through the school and fully licensed. What you really want to know is that the apprentice must be on your payroll. They must be registered, but they don't need to be currently employed. Like I said, it can be someone who's left your company, and we can make those applications after the fact. A little bit of an example here. I deal with a few dealerships. They've got licensed technicians there, and we have accounting firms that help with this as well. And we are brought to the table to help them understand a little bit of what they're doing right and wrong. So, you know, accounting firms, other businesses, I don't like talking bad about them, but not everybody is a specialist. And once we worked with a dealership group that had multiple locations, we were able to get them an additional $200,000 over that 3-year span retroactively, just because they didn't go through all of the employees that were eligible. They didn't do the research and understand how the program was affecting their business. They just took whatever paperwork was given to them and they filed it. And, you know, sometimes you're dealing with accountants. They're great. And, you know, we deal with accountants too. We've got them on staff, but they just deal with the paperwork and they don't really understand the program. So having conversation with AKR, with myself, I can help you guys understand the program and maybe peel back a couple layers of what might be getting missed or overlooked. So moving on to hiring grants. There's $2 billion available annually, and the funding has been around for decades. What is available to you, an important number for you, is about $6,000 for a new hire. But to let you guys understand it, you don't get just a flat rate of $6,000. The average you get is around 3 to 4. That funding is meant to offset the costs associated with internally training those new employees. Hiring grants do not apply for apprentices. These are essentially funds that you're going to be getting to offset the cost of your training on a new hire. You know, you want to be considering this for all the new hires that you have. And essentially, there's a couple of criteria that you're going to get. The reason I say there's 3 to 4,000 is because they are looking at the criteria of each employee being hired and determine how skilled they might be going into the job before they get that on-the-job training, and that will give you or allow them to decide the range of money that you get in that grant. Some criteria for you: you need to be in business for minimum 1 year. You're going to need that WSIB or a third-party coverage. You need to have permanent full-time staff, and they need to be hired for at least 25 hours a week. They cannot be family, daughter, son, husband, mother. It needs to be a new hire. Now, again, big key parts. They should not be currently employed. The hiring grant, again, is meant to offset that training cost of bringing in someone who's unemployed into your workplace and allowing them to get trained on the job. If they were previously employed, it really downgrades and negates the opportunity and disqualifies them from getting this, or for you getting this, really. Other small things, they must be legally able to work in Canada, permanent resident, Canadian citizen. So if you're thinking about, does this work for me bringing in immigrants that are not, permanent residents? Sadly, it does not work for them. They need to be Canadian citizens. This grant specifically is for those individuals. Hiring grants are given, like I said, on the job training incentives. So, a little bit of the breakdown of the math, $5 an hour for 40 hours for 10 weeks, you get 2,000. The employee doesn't really require any on the job training, then there's going to be no hiring grant available. It's somewhat black and white. Again, like I said, it varies per employee. It varies on their resume as well. How much education do they have? Are they high school, college, or university graduates? That impacts that dollar value. So you see here other things like age, work experience, English skills, that will impact the amount that's being offered to you. This example here, I think I'm going to skip through this. This just really lets you guys know, even if the employee does not work out, you bring them on board, you get the approval of the hiring grant. They work 1 week, 1 month, however it works, they get fired or they quit. You're still going to get that mathematical calculation based on the hours worked for when they were there. So I don't want you to think that this is, a lost cause if, you're bringing someone on, but they tend to leave, or they quit, or they don't like working for the job role in the money that they're being provided. It might be an entry-level position and they don't work out, give them 3 weeks, give them 4 weeks and they're gone. You're still going to get that money based on however many hours that they're working. So, you might not see the full 6, like I said, but you are going to be able to deduct some of those costs based on a hiring grant. Now, employees that are not transitioning from an employment agency as well to to your payroll, they wouldn't qualify. So if you're thinking, well, they're not really a real employee, they work for us, but they work for an agency and we're going to bring them on board now. Can I use the hiring grant? Again, it's not going to really work out, because if they're already working in your establishment, even if you're not, you haven't officially hired them, they don't require that training. They don't require that on the job training that you're using the funding for. So, what we do is we want to make sure that we pre-qualify each new hire that you have if you want to see if they're eligible. And that way you're not wasting time juggling our paperwork to get these applications in. It's a very, very short window to get this done, because you have to apply for a hiring grant before bringing these people on board. Now, some examples of hiring grants, for the jobs that we've done in the past, detailers at a service bay, auto shop, pre-apprentice help, lot attendants. These are some examples that I bring forward that are generic examples from like the auto industry, things that I've been able to get involved with a lot. Even some sales staff and reception. We've done hiring grants on administrative help, office help. It really just, again, it depends on who you find and the position that you're trying to fill. I'm not sure if anyone takes advantage of summer students. No, this is something I can let everybody understand. If you've never done it before, at the beginning of every year, summer students are a great opportunity for you if you know what you're going to need. These need to be applied ahead of time. The deadline has just closed, but I do like to let everybody know, if you do like to hire summer students, take advantage of this. The next time the calendar flips around, reach out to us. We can get you the applications where you're essentially letting the government know that you're going to hire 5, 3, 1, 10 summer students, and they put money aside so that way when the summer does come around and you hire them, you can help to offset the costs. Funding is up to 50% of the salary that's paid to that summer student. So the real key of hiring summer students and not having it be as expensive would be by applying at the very beginning of the year when this program intake is open. as long as you get your business in there and registered, they want to put money aside for you for the summertime. Now, again, the funding is available to the employers with under 50 employees. So again, a little bit of a keynote there. You want to take that with you as well. You do not need to have the cyber students identified at the time when you apply. So you don't need to know who you're hiring, but you need to know the number of positions that you're going to fill. Most of the time, the employers don't really know exactly the amount of students that they require. So we just recommend applying for some more placements than you actually require. If you're going to only hire 2 on a regular, hire 3 to 5. These types of reservations of the funding is what's important in the event that you start to get busier through the spring. Maybe you need more help in the summer. You don't want to lose out on that opportunity. And the only thing that we ask is that when you do know exactly how many you're going to use, if you underutilize the fund, we let the program managers know in the ministry so that they can redirect funding that's available, and everyone's happy. Now, those summer students, they need to work a minimum of 30 hours a week. They need to be employed for 6 to 23 consecutive weeks between May and August. So again, it's a specific time frame, specific kind of niche hiring, but again, something you guys can utilize. I guess you could just say circumstances of when this presentation happens, but again, it's knowledge that you want to know for next year. Some other examples of summer student hiring grants that we've done for dealerships have been like high school student placements in the summer. Again, detailers, reception, general help. You might find that this will work in your business as well. It might be entry-level positions where you might want to hire summer students. Now, something that's similar to apprentices are co-ops. Using these co-op students, there's been a growing trend in recent years to get college and university students some practical experience through paid co-op placements with an employer. Now, employers that hire college university students, so you're entitled, the key number here, $3,000 per co-op student per work term. Now, multiple students can be funded through the program at the same time. So if you want to hire 3 co-op students at the same time, you can do that, and know that you're looking at $3,000 per student per work term. If you already have hired any co-ops, again, this fund we can claim for you retroactively 3 years. So we can go back and claim for money that you may have left on the table. It's not lost yet. Some co-op placements that are available in many different fields, they include accounting, technicians, HR, IT. You don't really know what might be available until, I guess, you really speak with a college or university that will be providing those courses and will be close to your business address. You don't want to be bringing co-ops from across the province. Now, employers that are able to hire the same co-op student for more than one work term, that's a really great opportunity. And yes, you do qualify for that funding. So if you're hiring a co-op, be sure to get that letter. I think one of the biggest things I let everybody know is the college university is going to give you a declared signed statement that says this is the co-op student, this is their name, this is the program, this is their start date, this is their end date. That is a very, very important document that you need in order to get this through and make this claim. So part of what we do is we want to make sure we educate you on, it might not be you yourself, the business owner or the manager, but if there's a department head that needs to know because they're dealing with that co-op student on a regular basis, have me speak with them. I'll educate them on exactly what kind of paperwork they need to have so that they can have it and be prepared for, 6 months or 9 months down the road when we actually got to make these claims once the term has been completed. So again, other examples of these placements, they include like accounting, like I said, auto technicians. These are programs that are done through Niagara College, Georgian College. We've seen IT co-op students and HR co-op students assisting, the HR department. So don't think that co-op is not the right program for you. What you need to understand is, where do you really need the help? Where can you offset some of these costs? Again, think about those entry-level positions where you can start to bring in some students, some young educated professionals that want to get started in your industry and give them a shot, that you're going to be able to offset some of those starting costs. Now, a big fund that's available would be job training grants. In terms of what's available right now, funding has been $192 million per year up to $10,000 is really the key number here. So what you're eligible to get is up to $10,000 per employee per year for training. Now that training has to be done through a college, university, or like a third party training company. They need to be Canadian. And essentially what you want to know is you need to apply about 7-8 weeks in advance. So this is something that you can't do retroactive. If you've already been going through training programs, you're not going to be able to get that back. We need to apply ahead of time. The important things to take away is we need to have like a course outline so that we can determine eligibility. And then what you also need to make sure is you understand who's eligible. Funding is not available for the owners that take training courses, but it's available for the employees. What you're able to get is 80% of those training costs, again, up to $10,000 per year. One thing is it does not include any sort of in-house training costs. Maybe you have an individual at your company that does training in-house. That would not be eligible. And again, it needs to come through college, university. Oh. Did I go too far? There we go. Sorry about that. So some examples of training that is provided that we've done these grants for: diversity, inclusivity, sensitivity training, ERP systems training that are being done that's not the software developer. That might be different training programs from another third-party company to help you understand how to do that. Leadership training is a big one. Management training, sales training. These are all great courses, all been approved in the past, and things where, like I mentioned, if you can get that money for your sales team or your management team to help them elevate their abilities, you'll be able to get more out of them, and you can offset those costs. It's a win-win. Again, it must be done by a Canadian-based company. The training must be taken inside, so you can't have the training go outside of Canada in terms of where they actually obtain that training. The training must be paid by the employer, so employees who are paying for their training, who are reimbursed, do not qualify. And the training must be for existing employees already on the payroll. Okay, so any employees that are through agencies or subcontractors, they do not qualify for the training grant, as they're not directly on the payroll. So moving on, another opportunity would be employment insurance exemption. So EI. The government does not really provide EI benefits to company owners because they hold 40% or more of the ownership in a company. But in addition, next of kin family members may also not be entitled to employment insurance benefits. So husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers. But what I let everybody know is sometimes you don't really understand what you're paying for. So an EI benefit that you're paying for through your regular payroll, if you're related in the family, a son or a daughter, a wife, a father, it could be anyone related to the business owner. If they're not really at risk of losing their job because of an injury or getting cut, let's say, you're paying for EI when you really shouldn't have to. There's someone that, especially through COVID, I think everyone's been able to really understand that, if there's ownership or family working in the ownership group, working for the business, and they are flexible, they're working from everywhere, they're working from home, those are the people you need to consider, like actual directors of the company that would be paying into EI is an unnecessary payment. So you're not only going to be saving money for the employee, but also the company will be saving money because they're not paying into this. And then, one thing to consider, this is a permanent thing that goes on perpetuity. So once the ruling is received, an employer can stop paying those premiums. It goes on in perpetuity. So this is something, again, not everybody can take advantage of, shouldn't really be executed by everyone, because you want to make sure if that family member that's working in that company, they're going to be there for the next 15, 20 years. That's when you really want to execute this type of thing. So you're not paying, every check that's going out, you're essentially losing money. Now, some of those savings, EI payroll premiums are 1.58% of a gross salary, so up to $56,000 for a maximum of 889. I mean, these types of things, like I said, it's going to be relative to what you're paying, what the company is paying for that employee. But you can understand that, whether you're saving $100 a month or $1,000 a month, depending on what they're earning, you're saving that for the next, like I said, 15, 20 years. You want to make sure that they're in the right place and you're not overspending and just giving away money to the government. And as mentioned, here are some qualifying members of premiums that paid in the last 3 years, resulting in refunds per family member. The company saved $2,600 and the employee was able to save $3,700 in payments. Just an example of money out the window. So again, these are just more examples. I will save you the time and just skip to the next here. WSIB is another opportunity, again, something that is going to be again for family in the business. You may not want to take advantage of this, but it is available, so we can help you understand what that means. I can keep it short here. WSIB exemption is going to be really used for someone that's not going to be putting their, let's say, body or their person at risk in the workplace. So someone who was a family member that may be going on the production floor, you want to keep that WSIB coverage. But if they're someone that's in accounting, they never ever will go on the floor, they don't even own steel toe shoes, this is something you might want to consider because they're not at risk of getting injured on the job. And again, if their family, even if they were to get hurt, let's say lifting a heavy box in the accounting office, they're likely not going to be requiring to go on WSIB because they're going to get paid their regular salary when they're going to most likely work from home. So these are, again, tools, like EI, WSIB exemptions are tools that you could use to, help reduce some of the costs that you might be seeing you don't even know are going out the door. Let me skip through that as well. It's all examples to help you understand the mathematics, but I don't want to go too long here. The last thing I really want to talk to everybody about was ASO and group benefits. So ASO stands for Administrative Services Only, something that we've been helping our clients with recently in the last few years. And what ASO really is a cost-effective group insurance option that has historically only been offered by major group insurance companies to companies with 100 or more lives. Now, this significantly differs from traditional group insurance. That is like, your self-insurance. With ASO, what you move from paying a monthly insurance fee, regardless, you basically will go to pay-as-you-go model. And that's really the easiest way to explain it to everybody. Using a pay-as-you-go model or pay-as-you-use model with your benefits is going to help you because, there's a lot of companies out there, especially in the last few years, things are shutting down here left and right, and you've been paying for coverage that you haven't been utilizing, your employees haven't been utilizing. But you also have to think a little bit outside the box. If you are employing on a regular basis a younger staff or a more predominantly male staff, they're most likely not going to be going to the eye doctor every single year or maybe getting their teeth cleaned on a regular basis. They're in very great health and they're not going to go and see a doctor. The likelihood of them being on prescription medication is very, very low. So are they really utilizing their benefits that you're paying for? And, it might be full coverage. It may be a 90-10 or an 80-20, but you have to really consider now. This is something you should take a look at and understand. And most traditional insurance companies aren't going to offer you that transparency. They're not going to say, hey, look, this is what you're paying for and this is what you used. You really have to ask those questions and ask for those assessments. And then you might be asking, well, if I switch this type of coverage, what happens when someone is on my payroll, they are covered, and all of a sudden they are using a high amount of benefits? Well, there's other parts of this program that are called like stop loss insurance. Now that can put an upper limit on medical and dental. That's a limit that's determined by finding the average usage per employee over a 2-year period. So these are things that we'll walk you through if you're really interested in understanding about how you can save money on your group benefits. something like this, if you find that your business, you've been switching a lot, or you see premiums continue to go up, you're paying for a lot of these things that you may not be utilizing. Maybe it's time that you take the opportunity to get an assessment done of what you are getting, and speak with a professional that can help you understand what this pay as you use model really means. So there are other little opportunities that are in this package that can be presented to you as opportunity to save money and to reutilize that spending that you might be already allocating for benefits. So one tool, just to give you an example, is a healthcare spending account. It's a bit of an alternative, but it does work. And it allows your employees to choose where they would like to spend those dollars. It could be chiropractor, physiotherapist, it could be glasses or a gym membership. If you find that once you go through all this, yeah, you're saving money, but do you want to reduce your costs, or you want to reallocate that and maybe make yourself that much more of a desirable workplace to be at, so you can continue to hire the best of the employees you can find and offer them some maybe real value that they're not getting anywhere else. So something to consider if you do go that route would be a healthcare spending account. And again, really what you want to understand is what are the savings? What am I understanding? Break it down for me. There's a lot to understand when it comes to group benefits, but what I can tell you is that every single model that I've looked at, all the clients that I've pitched this and talked to about, and the ones that we've signed up, and they're all looking at 30% of savings per year when they switch. So does that mean that you're going to be at 28 and unhappy? I mean, I can't guarantee you what the savings will be, but what I can tell you is that we want to help you get educated and show that transparency of what you're paying for, and maybe help you understand where you want to go into the future. As the whole traditional insurance policies, the reason why they're the way they are, and they're always inflated, is because you're just spending money and not really looking at it. And I speak on behalf of where I've worked in the past, and me being a business owner in the past. These are some things that you just sometimes overlook. You want to have that coverage, you want to offer it to your employees, and it's one less headache you deal with. You just re-sign, you renew your policy, and you move on. But every year, you will see these costs go up. So if you feel like right now is the time to have these conversations, feel free to reach out to me. There's my email. You can reach out to me, Daniel at acareconsulting.com. Again, I really want to thank you all for taking some time today to jump on this call and listen to some of these employment funding options. Again, thank you, Marco, for the opportunity to come here and share this with everyone as well. Feel free to reach me at that number or my email, and I'm sure my information will probably get shared as well after this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel, very much. That was extremely informative. Obviously, there's a ton of opportunities for everyone. I just want to go back to some of the questions that have been posed. Unfortunately, these were posed about half an hour ago, so maybe we'll just kind of see where this applies. So Sharif says, were we able to cover software training / implementation under this program? Is that still feasible? I don't know exactly what you were talking about exactly at 1 p.m., but if I'm doing software training and or implementation, what program do you think that would best suit that?
So the way I can explain it is that, if you're purchasing some sort of new software, typically the providers are offering their training services as an added value. That isn't really covered. However, if there is another company out there, another one that's separate from them, that's providing, maybe some standard training on how to utilize any software, or to help you guys understand how to, let's say, allocate the management and the levels of what they need to be doing, the transfer of information, and maybe automate things a little bit easier. There may be some training involved, but again, what I let everybody know is that regardless of what you're looking at, is understand where you need the training, and then give me a shout and send me a course outline. The easiest way for me to answer it would be to go through that course outline and really dissect the terminology. Now, I don't want to say that I'm someone who will make miracles happen at all. But in some cases, the programs are completely eligible. However, the terminology that they use will disqualify them because it'll say that they offer coaching instead of training. And something as small as the terminology will, to the ministry rep, they'll just disqualify it because they see these things as, well, it's not really training because they're going to be there and they're going to be coaching you and they're going to hold your hand. They're not offering you a one set kind of cookie cutter course, right? And when you start getting into these things where they're actually holding your hand, it changes that terminology of the course outline, and it can change your eligibility. I love to have these conversations with actual training providers so that I can help them to, hey, look, if we just change the wording of your course outline, it's still the same course, but now you've made yourself eligible. I can help them to get, more funding programs approved, but I'm also helping you guys in the business. So it can work hand in hand that way.
Okay. So, I mean, from an outside perspective, you go to AKR, you see all these opportunities for funding, you propose, these are the projects I'm working on, where are the opportunities, and then you'll identify where the opportunities are and where the funding is available. But as you've shown and as you've dictated, there's opportunities across the board. Chris, I just had a quick question for you. In terms of software training and implementation, is there any application for that in SRED? Do you see much software training / implementation and SRED kind of sharing, or is that something completely different?
That's completely different. Wouldn't apply.
Okay, just so everyone understands. Okay, and we have 3 more remaining questions. 2 of them are quite topical, so I'm not sure if they really fit the scope of this, but from Alfonso, are the company size limitations for who can apply for these grants? Are grants only available for companies with less than 500 employees? Is there a limitation on size?
That's going to be specific to the funding program. I mean, there's always stipulations on that.
Yeah.
A lot of different programs will actually say, it could be 50 employees, it could be 100.
Yeah.
It doesn't normally get higher than that.
Yeah.
How they really designate with most of the funding programs is trying to separate small business from large corporations. And then they adjust the funding amounts usually according to that. So if there's a grant that's available to all businesses, they will use the employee size to designate how much money they're actually giving out. And it may not be a dollar value, but it'll be a percentage. So a small business might be able to receive 50% of a certain program when a large corporation might only see 30.
Okay, so in summation, the number of employees will be stipulated in specific for the funding.
Yeah, and that's what we'll help you guys understand. We can dissect it as we go through each one and how it's relevant to your business.
Chris, same question for you. Is there any limitation on the number of employees, big or small? No.
No, there is no limitation.
Okay, great. And here is a general question from an anonymous attendee. Are family members entitled to EI if you have a corporation? I don't know if that fits the scope of this kind of discussion, but does anybody want to chime in, or should we just leave that?
I mean, I can just give you 2 cents really, but
Sure.
I think maybe the question is just misworded. Family members entitled to EI. I think, like I said, you really want to understand what the purpose of EI is. It's there to protect the employee. And if a family member belongs to that company, and they really are not an employee, they're more of the family. They're going to be treated just like the owner. You want to separate that. So like I said, if they're a director of the company working in the family, there's multiple family members, then you really want to consider the EI exemption.
Yep.
However, if it's like a second cousin, son, and whatever, and it's extended family, and the likelihood of them really staying in the company is going to be, maybe they're here for a year or a few years, but they're never going to take over the company, or let's say, or be a decision maker. They're just they have that opportunity because they're family to be working in the place of employment. Then don't touch their EI. Leave it there in the event that they need to utilize it. It's a service, and it's something that will help any employee. Obviously, it's just something that if you don't really think you're going to take advantage of it, you should really consider removing it to save money.
Okay, good advice. And the final comment from Sharif, do you have a sample course online? Without specifics, I don't really know how to respond to that. But I think what he's suggesting is that I think you're referring to the third party. So I can speak on that a little bit. We just upgraded to Microsoft 365, and we are going to be getting some funding because we got a third party company to come in and do some training with us, integration training and obviously optimization training. So third party is where you get the funding there. But conversely, you know, all of us are using a ERP software. We're doing upgrades to Paradigm, and we're getting Paradigm Paradigm support. That would not fall under the scope of funding, if I understand it correctly, because it is the company providing the software, also providing the training.
Very great example, Marco.
Okay, so the crux of that is third party, you're entitled to funding. If it's the entity providing the software and the training, then it is not available. Okay, there are no other questions at this time, but I made a small omission. Earlier on, I wanted to introduce one other person. Terry, are you available? Okay, what is valuable, and I haven't articulated this yet, Terry Adamson is the lead technical director with the Fenestration Canada. So we have tech talks online, as well as he is a resource for individuals in the industry for technical information. So I know he can articulate that much better, but I just want everyone to be aware, those members who are new and interested in joining Fenestration Canada, that we do have technical support available to the industry. And Terry has a wealth of knowledge and has been in the industry for a number of years, previously with West Tech Windows out in Vancouver. He has now assumed a full-time role with Fenestration Canada, and he is a critical tool, very knowledgeable. And if you have any technical questions, he's your guy to go to. And I have one more question. No, there are no more questions. Okay, without further ado, is there anything that you wanted to articulate, Stefan, before we left?
No, just want to thank our sponsors again, and thank our guests today and our attendees. So thank you to Roto and Open Janela, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Atlantic presentation and the Quebec presentation. So Atlantic's at 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow, and Quebec at 12:30. And to add to your point, Marco, if you guys want to reach out to Terry, you guys can do so by email at terry@fenestrationcanada.ca. So thanks,
and
everyone.
I'm trying to, can everyone see my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna flip to my last slide so that everyone has an opportunity for the last, for the contact information. If you want to take an opportunity to get down that information, myself, Tarek, and Jason from the Ontario chapter, as well as the presenters, Chris and Daniel, both very knowledgeable, both very helpful. So please reach out to them. I want to thank everybody for their time, and looking forward to doing more of these. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And as it says there, hopefully the next time we'll be meeting in person, and we can stop with this technology and actually put some face to the names and start developing this community.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.